Part of the justification why Germany or Merkel is bringing in all these Muslim refugees is because, oh, we have a low birth rate. In fact, I'll link to this article. Germany has now a lower birth rate among native Germans, white Germans, than even the Japanese. So the idea is, oh, we need to bring in these Muslims so they have more and more babies, although it's just men that are coming in. And what's interesting, this has happened before. There was a country years ago, very similar situation, very low birth rate, is a horrible economy. Because of that, people didn't want to bring kids into the world, and everyone got very degenerate, just live for today, and it was very decadent, and people were very depressed. Sounds familiar? Yeah, that's like our society now. But what did they do? This country, instead of implementing a globalist policy of like, oh, let's bring in a bunch of third worlders. No, this country decided to implement a nationalist policy. And this one initiative I thought was brilliant. And it worked. And what it was is that a newly married couple would get a $100,000 loan. It was a loan, you had to pay it back, but you were given it right away. But here's the catch that was just really brilliant. For every child you had, they would forgive 25% of the loan, right? So let's say after your first baby, you only owned $75,000. After your second baby, $50,000. Yeah, after your fourth baby, you don't owe anything back. And so what happened, it had this incentive for women to get married to men, and these women, a lot of these women worked in factories or whatever. A lot of them didn't really like it. Now the women that wanted to still work in factories, fine, they could still work in the factories. But women that wanted to marry a man and have children, there's a huge incentive. So they left the work environment. And what happened then is because there's less women in the work environment to be home, to have children, men took their spots in the factory. So the unemployment among men reduced suicide. In general, people became happier. And one of the big questions was like, well, how do you fund this? Well, it was within 5 months, revenue neutral. And the reason is because, yeah, you have to put out the initial like equivalent of $100,000. But because of the extra men that got off jobless benefits, you know, they're now working, now they're paying taxes. So that increased it. But plus, another thing that happened is because of this demand, because they got $100,000, these newlywed couples, they're like, oh, well, let's get a house, let's buy furniture, let's buy a baby crib because we're going to have babies, let's buy a car. So the demand just went through the roof. And because this country was nationalist, they didn't outsource their work to like China or India. No, it went to the Germans. So then there was more demand, and they went from this huge unemployment to basically a worker shortage within a period of a year, so quickly. And we also saw in Germany at this time is baby boom, because women wanted to have babies. There was a financial incentive, and because the men were working, people were enthused about their future. That's an example of what a nationalist policy can do versus a globalist policy of, oh, well, let's just flood your country with people from another nation and just destroy you. That's evil. So there are solutions that we can do to increase the birth rate. Talk to you guys later.